All right, folks. So today, I'm going to be walking you through the Social Security Act. All right? What this act tells you is the laws and regulations for implementing every state with child support. All right? Now, and later in our course, you'll see some conflictions. You'll see some overlaps. You'll see a lot going on here, but I hope to make this clear for you. I hope that you can see some of the flaws in it and how your rights are being obliterated. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so this is Title 4 of the Social Security Act. All right, Title 4D is child support. Title 4A, B, C, D, E. You see where I'm going? Okay, so you want to break these down. All right, each one tries to support the other. Okay. Title A is backed by positive law. Positive law means it can be enforced. All right. Title B is backed by positive law. It can be enforced. Subpart 2 is backed by positive law, and so is Subpart 3 of Title B. All right. Subpart C was also backed by positive law, but it was repealed. All right. D was not. It was not backed by positive law. This means it cannot be enforced because it is contractual based. It'd be forced servitude, forced slavery. So when you have a contract, you will effectively understand the terms and conditions of the contract, but they don't make it known at all. You see, they try to use the birth certificate of the child as your signature to fearmonger you into signing a contract with them. But just because you're the father of the child or the mother of the child does not mean you have to sign a contract with them. You see, they go off the assumption that you are underneath their jurisdiction. So whenever child support is forced on you and everything, some people avoid it, send letters back, yada, 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 or they get arrested, okay? So when they arrest you over contracts, this is highly illegal because it's a contract. You can't be arrested for a contract. What did you do? So unless you sign the contract with them, they have no jurisdiction over you. But you have to make that known. All right, see, they're letting you believe that they're government when they're not. They're not. Just because it says your state is attacking you does not mean it's your state when the lawyer works for the agency. That's how you know. All right, let's get into this. All right, so under Part A, block grants to states for temporary assistance for needy families. All right. There's not much in here that you won't find useful. Okay. So we can go through a little bit of this. Grants to states. In general, each eligible state will be entitled to receive from the Secretary for each of fiscal years 2017 and 2018 a grant and the amount equal to the state family assistance grant. These are grants. So in order for the state to get this grant, they have to follow these codes, these rules. All right? The limitations on the grant. All right, the Secretary may not award funds made available under this paragraph on a non-competitive basis and may not provide any such funds to an entity. You see, the Secretary of State is government. These are entities. These are agencies. These are outside. These are private agencies. For any purpose of carrying out healthy marriage promotions activities or for the purpose of carrying out activities promoting responsible fatherhood unless the entity has submitted to the Secretary an application or in the case of an entity seeking funding to carry out healthy marriage promotion activities and activities promoting responsible fatherhood, a combined application that contains assurances that the entity will carry out such activities under separate programs and shall not combine any funds awarded to carry out either such activities, which describes how programs or activities proposed in the application will address as appropriate issues of domestic violence and so on and so forth. So, pretty much what this is saying here is they're trying to interfere in the home. All right? The federal government is trying to interfere in your home. And they're using the women to do it. That's just plain and simple. Sorry. Got to put it to you truthfully. They're convincing the women that these things are what they look like when they're not. They're aiming the divine feminine at the divine masculine. Separation. Interfering with families. Children cannot be raised in an appropriate environment without both energies. Okay? So, what the federal government's trying to do is they're trying to separate the divine masculine so that they don't protect the divine feminine. So then the government can act like they're the ones protecting the divine feminine. And then who gets ended up raised by the government? Your children. All right? But let's get to the bread and butter, okay? Title 4D is why you're here. All right. Title 4D, Child Support, Establishment of Paternity. Appropriation. So, for the purpose of enforcing the support obligations owed by the non-custodial parents, okay, so in this, as you can see, I haven't found a definition section for Title 4D. There's one for E. There's one for B. There's one for A. But for D, there's not. Why do you think that is? Because they don't want you to know what non-custodial parent means. Non-custodial parent means any entity outside of the home, outside of the family. What does that mean? That means your state is the non-custodial parent. The agency itself could be the non-custodial parent. You could make anyone the non-custodial parent. That's why they put liability on the father. Because remember, they can only deal with businesses. Businesses can only contract with businesses. That's why they made your social security number and name. That's why every time you go to court, it's an all caps name, because it's not you. That is the business, so you can interface with the government. That's why you have a social security number, so you can interface with the government. Because the government, the U.S., all of the public businesses have to interface with the U.S. government. Have to. It's kind of a rule. So, what does that mean? Well, the more you look into this, they consider you under their jurisdiction because they believe you're a U.S. citizen. Look, you're an American, and your state has its own styles manual for what you're called. You know, Indianans are called Hoosiers. Kentuckies are called Kentuckians. The Floridians in Florida, like Californians in California, because that's what you are, because your state is a nation. All right. And this goes really well with other researchers, and trust me, like, I've done it myself. I've taken the courses, and worked wonders for me. Knowing that information will help you understand this information 10 times more. It will broaden your horizons. So feel free to go over to Brandon Joe Williams YouTube, his website, and all his connections, the Amnesty Coalition. And trust me, the information, the material, and technology that he has for you will help you tremendously. It did me, all right? And it inspired me to walk you guys through the child support and act, okay? And everything they're doing. I started going down this rabbit hole 2020, but didn't get it until I read his material. Genius. All right, let's get back to this. All right. For the purposes of enforcing the support obligations owed by non-custodial parents to their children and their spouse or former spouse, remember, when you get married, the state becomes the wife's spouse. So whose children do they become? Because it's a business. And they're interfacing with the business of the woman. Not the actual woman, but her Enlegis Corporation made at her birth from the Social Security Act. This is it. They're interfacing, but they make the man the obligor. All right, let's keep going. With whom such children are living, locating non-custodial parents, establishing paternity, obtaining child and spousal support, and assuring that assistance is obtained. Obtaining support will be available under this part to all children, whether or not eligible for assistance under a state program funded under Part A for whom such assistance is requested. There is hereby authorized to be appropriated for each fiscal year a sum sufficient to carry out the purposes of this part. All right. So they're acquiring data on individuals, private individuals, to force them to interface with the federal government. That's what's going on here. All right. Duties of the secretary. And there's a lot. And I don't think we're going to go through all this, but Federal Parent Locator Services, State Directory for new hires. Oh my goodness. State Directory for new hires is the definitions section. Holy moly. What? Wow. Oh, wow. That's insane. So, employee, the term employee means an individual who is an employee within the meaning of the Chapter 24 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, and does not include an employee of federal or state agency performing intelligence or counterintelligence functions. So they're collecting intelligence. Oh my gosh. They're collecting intelligence on you. I mean, come on. Isn't this what Edward Snowden was talking about all those years ago? Like, come on. Okay. Holy moly. Okay. So, labor organization. Oh my goodness. This is insane. Oh my goodness. If this is not enslavement, I don't know what is. Wow. So, let's go down a little bit more. Automated data processing. So they have AIs working at this stuff to check for, but literally they don't check for fraud. They just check to see if the system's working. I already looked into it. It is retarded. To maintain the requisite data and state performance with respect to paternity establishment and child support enforcement in the state, and to calculate the paternity establishment percentage for the state for each fiscal year, and have in place system controls to ensure the completeness of reliability of and ready access to the data described in paragraph 1A and the accuracy of the calculations described in the paragraph. But they don't have a fraud checker because this is high fraud right here. This is entrapment. It is a whole bunch of stuff. Look, I'm going to get you to the bread and butter, but first we have to go through this stuff. Once you see the top, then I can show you the butter. Then I can show you the bread. All right, but right now we have to bake it. All right, you have to go through it. You have to bake it. Okay. System controls, monitoring of access, training and information procedures, contents, use of standardized data elements. Yeah, this is all automated, like literally. Collection and disbursement of support payments. All right. In general, in order for the state to meet the requirements of this section, the state agency must establish and operate a unit which shall be known as the State Disbursement Unit for the collection and disbursement of payments under support orders. So, you have, in all cases, being enforced by the state pursuant to Section 454, Section 4. Okay, what is this? So Section 4 is down here. To furnish any parent, upon request, timely information on the current status of support payments under an order requiring payments to be made by, to, or the parent, except that in cases described in subsection A1B. The State Disbursement Unit shall not be required to convert and maintain in automated form records of payments kept pursuant to Section 466A 8B 3 before the effective date of this section. So, and in all cases not being enforced by the state under this part in which the support order is initially issued in the state on or after January 1st, 1994, and in which the income of the non-custodial parent is subject to withholding pursuant to Section 466A 8B. Okay, so where's 466? Okay. Okay, procedures under which the income of the person with support obligation imposed by the support order issued or modified in the state before January 1994, if not otherwise subject to withholding under Section B, shall become subject to withholding as provided in subsection B, and arrearages occur without the need for a judicial or administrative hearing. So, they made you a withholding agent for them, a tax withholding agent for them. This is how they're able to dip into your taxes. This is how they're able to take the back door. Okay, so U.S. 42 Section 666. What does that mean? A. In order to satisfy Section 45420A, each state must have in effect laws requiring the use of the following procedures, consistent with this section and with regulations of the Secretary, to increase the effectiveness of the program which the state administrators under this part. Oh my gosh. Because it's not enforced, because it's not positive law, they put in the section to create statutes that support it so they can enforce the statutes within the state because it's not federal law. Wow. Wow. That is insane. You know what? Let's look this up right here. Boop, boop. The requirements of the statutorily prescribed procedures to improve effectiveness of child support enforcement. See what I mean? What did I say? Because it's not federal law, Because they can't enforce it federally. They want the state to enforce it. Because how can you enforce a federal law from a private agency? You can't. Because it's a private agency. They're making money off the backs of every single family. Of course that's not going to get passed in Congress. Are you kidding me? You must be out of your mind. So what they've done is they went around Congress and went straight to the states and offered them grants to do it. This is bribery 101. From my perspective, you be the judge, but this is bribery 101. Okay. Okay, so I remember seeing this from, who was it? The 4D Destroyer. There was a specific, here it is. Notice of non-custodial parent's social security account number or numbers. If he has more than one such number and home address shall be furnished to the state agency requesting the refund offset and to the state agency enforcing the order. See, they're using social security numbers as identification numbers for the non-custodial parent. Oh, parents. See, there's two. There's the state, and then the state tries to force the father. You see that? When the state is supposed to be taken care of. Because, I mean, hey, they created the business at your birth. You're their child. Okay? These are egregious corporations. They're fake entities. Okay? They're not real. Like, they're not real. Like, you're telling a holder of a number who's not even the number, who's not even the name, who is just using it to interface with the federal government, that he is responsible for another holder of a number. What? They're all your numbers. Like, literally, look on the back of your Social Security number card. Look on the back. It says, property of the Social Security Administration. If requested, it must be returned. It's not yours. It's not even yours. So when you go in court and you say, this is me, you no longer have rights. You no longer have freedom. You are a U.S. citizen now. You're a citizen of a piece of paper. Because the United States government is just a nation that is a business. The real government is America. Are you serious? Oh, jeez, this is funny. All right, let's keep going. Okay, liens. Oh my gosh, this is getting juicy. Liens arise by operation of law against real and personal property for the amounts of overdue support owed by the non-custodial parent who resides or owns property in the state. And the state accords full faith and credit to liens. Okay, so full faith and credit. Do you know what that means? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. They're filing UCC 1s on you. That's what they're doing here. For the whole amount. And then you know what else they're doing? They're taking the contract that you signed up to the Federal Reserve discount window, getting the full amount, and then still putting a lien on you. This is baffling. This is insane. Oh my gosh. Wow. Described in paragraph A, arising in another state when another state agency, party, or other entity seeking to enforce such a lien complies with the procedural rules relating to recording or serving liens that arise within the state, except that such rules may not require judicial notice. What? It is our constitutional rights to have notices, to get judicial notices, to get formal notices. But now they don't. They're saying, "Oh, we don't have to. No, we're not going to do that." They're never going to figure it out. They're never going to know how to defend against it either. Well, that's why we're here. Or hearing prior to the enforcement of such a lien. What this is saying is, if you accept liability of the state's problem, then because they created the problem. Do you not see? So let me show you from my perspective. From my perspective, this is what they're doing. They're forcing fathers out, and then they're saying you have to take care of all of this that we convinced your ex to do to you. So now it's your problem. No, it's not my problem. You convinced her, now you pay her. What are you talking about? You're supposed to be taking care of the citizens anyways. Like, are you serious? Like, this is not a service. This is not a service. This is not terms of a contract. Like, show me where the contract is. They'll never show you a contract because literally they don't have it anymore. They took it to the Federal Reserve discount window and got the full amount. You know what they could have done is they could have gave that to the mother immediately. You know what they didn't do? Give it to the mother. They kept it and then put liability on the father and then create bonds, create all kinds of other court hearings and contracts to make more money off of both of them, using them against each other. And you know, when a child is put into a court situation, it becomes a ward of the state. Yeah. State is now legally responsible for that child. So what do you think they're going to do? They own that child now. You see, parents don't know what they're doing when they're going for child support. They have no idea. They think they're getting money when really they're selling their child for trafficking. That's what they're doing. I mean, it's a mild form, but still, it is what it is. And then they're shifting blame onto the father. It is insane. I know. Oh, look, there's my birthday. So, procedures concerning paternity establishment. Establishment process available from birth until age of 18. Procedures which permit the establishment of paternity of a child at any time before the child attains 18 years of age. As of August 16th, 1984, I wasn't born that year, but August 16th, yeah, that's my birthday. Clause I shall also apply to children for whom paternity has not been established or for whom a paternity action was brought but dismissed because a statute of limitations of less than 18 years was then in effect in the state. Procedures concerning genetic testing. Voluntarily paternity acknowledgement. here. Now we're getting into the bread. All right. Notice it says simple civil process. Simple. Oh, it's so simple because we have a contract and we can take you to court over that contract to make you pay. But see where they F up at? It's putting you in jail over it. That's where fraud happens. All right. Because you can't go to jail over a contract. You just can't. All right. Construction workers fail to build a place. They had a contract. Do they go to jail? No. All right. A deal falls through because, the loan management team couldn't come up with the fucking money. Do they go to jail? No. This is the only time you ever hear about someone going to jail over a contract. Why? Because they want to make it look like government. But it's not. Procedures for a simple civil process for voluntary acknowledgement paternity, under which the state must provide that before a mother and a punitive father can sign an acknowledgement of paternity, the mother and the punitive father must be given notice, orally or through the use of video or audio equipment, and in writing. Not or, and. Of the alternatives to the legal consequences. Has any of you ever gotten the alternatives and legal consequences of acknowledging paternity? I didn't. They didn't tell me they were going to hound me for freaking 11 years, put me under duress, coerce me into signing a contract I didn't want to sign. They didn't tell me they were going to throw me in jail. No, they didn't tell me none of that stuff. Not at all. Not before I signed. Not before I acknowledged that I was the father. No, they didn't do none of that. And the rights, including if one parent is a minor, any rights afforded due to minority status and responsibilities that arise from signing the acknowledgement. That never happened because they don't do this. They say simple civil process, but really it's in a private room, and if you don't sign, well, you get thrown in jail. Hospital-based program. Such procedures must include a hospital-based program for voluntary acknowledgement of paternity. See, this is where they use when a child's born. The moment when a child's born, the moment they try to convince the parent to sign something that has to do with child support, birth certificate, or Social Security. Why? So the state can make the child a slave. So the state can make it's terrible. So the government can make the father a slave. And so they can use the mother against them both. They don't know they're doing this, okay? Because who really reads the contract before? Who really reads the stuff? No, they tell you what to do, and you do it because you just pushed out a heavy freaking child. You're all doped up, and you just want to rest. They get you at your lowest. They kick you when you're down and you don't realize what you're doing. I don't blame no one. I don't blame no one for going through this. I don't blame no one who ever figured out this stuff too and went back and blamed themselves and told themselves what I've told myself, like, I cannot believe I did that. I cannot believe I did this. I cannot believe I signed that. It's not your fault, okay? In order to strengthen ourselves, we must know our rights. In order to know our rights, we have to know their laws. We have to know their regulations. We have to know their procedure, so we can implement our rights. Because they're not gonna just let us. They're not gonna just roll over, just because we say, we are private citizens of, the state doesn't mean anything to them. It goes in one ear and out the other. No, you have to literally tell them, like, no, I am not even a U.S. citizen. I am an American national. You don't have jurisdiction over me. And you know it. You have to go through everything. Literally. There's a hazing process, and it's terrible. But like you, we all have to go through it. Okay? And what they do at hospitals, this kind of stuff right here, these programs, they pay them hospital workers too to do this to you. That's bribery. That's not fair. They're enslaving people every day to a system and a program that controls them at their happiest moments. At the moments when you brought life into the world. It is terrible. It is sick. It's wrong. From my perspective, you be the judge. Paternity establishment of services. State-offered services. Such procedures must require the state agency responsible for maintaining birth records to offer voluntary paternity establishment services. So, this has to do with the vital statistics of the Health and Health and Human Services Cabinet or whatever in your state. They coordinate with them. Oh, did such and such sign this birth certificate? Are they within our jurisdiction? Oh, they did? Oh, okay, well. Then they use that as like the anchor. To be like, hey, you signed this, you owe this. This is when. That's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. What's happening is they're coming to you and saying, hey, we don't want this liability. This is on you, bub. All you have to do is be like, I'm not liable. No, this is your guys' program. This is your guys' business entity that you created. You take care of it. I'll take care of the living being. I'll take care of the child that I created. You take care of the child you created. That's all you have to say. I am just an advocate for people living in private, loving in private. Okay? Title 4D Destroyer said, he advocates that you made him in private, you should take care of him in private. And I couldn't agree more with him. I really couldn't. It's true. It's so true. When you go over this stuff, you look at these things and you're like, oh man, this is rough. This is rough, So regulations on these procedures. Services offered by hospitals and birth record agencies, the secretary shall prescribe regulations governing voluntary paternity establishment services offered by hospitals and birth record agencies. Well, we should tell the secretaries of our states, hey, we need clear, defined definitions for each of these. We need definitions for everything in this. Because, look, there's no contract in my state. There's no definitions in my state for this stuff. They hit it all, okay? And I've brought it up several times. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, you guys just want to enslave people for their money. Like, that's it. That's all you guys want to do. Like, ever since the coal went out, you guys are all about enslaving people now, aren't you? Like, what is going on? Okay, section BB. Services offered by other entities. The Secretary shall prescribe regulations specifying the types of other entities that may offer voluntary paternity establishment services and governing the provisions. This means provisions means bonuses. It means extra paychecks. Okay, so when they establish a new customer, they get extra paychecks. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like the people who work at the fiscal services and the vital services and the hospitals, when they establish a new customer, they get checks of such services, which is a bribe, which shall include a requirement that such an entity must use the same notice provisions used use the same materials used by, provided the personnel providing such services with the same training provided by, and elevate the provisions of such services in the same manner as the provisions of such services is elevated by voluntary paternity establishment programs of hospitals and birth record agencies. I'm not even going to get into that. They're trying to entice them with more clients, the more money. That's really what they're saying here. The more people you get to sign this document, the more money you make. It blows my mind. Give me a second. Oh my goodness. Alright, sorry. I had to take that one in for a minute. So, use of paternity acknowledgement affidavit. Such procedures must require the state to develop and use an affidavit for the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity, which includes the minimum requirements of the affidavits specified by the Secretary under section of this title. Section 652A7 of this title for the voluntary acknowledgement. Okay. Of paternity. That's what it is. Nope. And to give full faith and credit to such an affidavit signed in another state according to its procedures. So what that means is full faith and credit means to create or to establish funds. Okay, so like, hold on. Okay, so paternity acknowledgement looks exactly like a court case, but it's an affidavit. Now I'm looking at mine right here. Apparently this is just an affidavit. That's insane. That's scary. All right. So, the status of signed paternity acknowledgement. inclusion of birth records, procedures under which the name of the father shall be included on the record of birth of the child of unmarried parents, only if the father and mother have signed a voluntary acknowledgement of paternity, or a court of an administrative agency of competent jurisdiction has issued an adjudication of paternity. Okay, so competent jurisdiction. That's why they say competent jurisdiction. What they really mean is if you are incompetent of your jurisdictional status. All right. And an adjudication, all right, that's without a jury. That is without a judge. Okay. It is simply with someone, a witness. Okay. You know what? Let's look this up real quick. Let's be 100%. I think I know what it is, but adjudication. A simple swab test. No, that's not it. Okay. Naming the father as the obligor. Okay. So what this says is the state provides child support services that include paternity testing. It seeks to recover some of the funds the state has expended in support of the child. If the test results confirm paternity and the court issues an adjudication of paternity, naming the father as the obligor, then the state can proceed. All right, so look what this is saying. The state provides child support services that include paternity testing. It seeks to recover some of the funds the state has expended in support of the child, because it's their responsibility. You see, paternity, if you don't know your rights, if you don't know who you actually are, if you don't know where you actually live, puts you under their jurisdiction. Paternity allows them to enslave you using emotional and moral dilemmas to get you to become their obligor and be liable for a debt that they created out of thin air because they did not want to provide anything for your kid. They didn't want to give them the services they promised them. They didn't want to give the mother the services that they promised them. No. They don't want to be for the people. They don't want to serve the people. They want the people to serve them. That's what's really going on here. That's the truth. Right here. Okay. Nothing in this clause shall preclude a state agency from obtaining an admission of paternity from the father for submission in a judicial or administrative proceeding. Why? So they can take that straight up and get him to be a battery for them. Pay them money now, because we'll get into it later. And there's interest, there's fees, there's arrearage, there's taxes, everything's involved in it, okay? Any way and every way they could possibly enslave man, they have tried. Or prohibit the issuance of an order in a judicial or administrative proceeding which bases the legal finding of paternity on an admission of paternity by the father and any other additional showing requirement by state law. It's not positive law. It's statutes. They're enforcing statutes. Okay? That's contract law. Mind you. You know, it is insane. It's just insane. Okay. Legal finding of paternity. Procedures under which a signed voluntary acknowledgement of paternity is considered a legal finding of paternity. Subject to the right of any signatory to rescind the acknowledgement within the earlier of 60 days or the date of an administrative or judicial proceeding relating to the child, including a proceeding to establish a support order in which the signatory is a party. Contest. Procedures under which, after the 60-day period referred to in the clause, because there's a clause, because once you figure out what's really going on here, of course you're not going to want to sign that. Of course you're going to want to rescind your signature. Of course. Because what's really going on here is you're doing the state's job. And then the state is taking interest from you. Taking your taxes, your everything. Taking everything they can. A signed voluntary acknowledgement of paternity may be challenged in court only on the basis of fraud, duress, or a material mistake of fact. Why? Because that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. It's fraud, duress, and material mistake in fact. Because you are not able, you take care of your in-legis corporation. It can't do it itself. So yes, you are its attorney. You are the agent for your all caps name. You are the agent for the Social Security number. You're the attorney of it. It can't do it itself. Without you, it can't do anything. It is a business. Treat it like one. With the burden of proof upon the challenger, and under which the legal responsibilities, including the child support obligations of any signatory arising from the acknowledgement, may not be suspended during the challenge, except for good cause shown. So they're going to drain you for every freaking dollar until you prove it. Well, folks, have I got the proof for you? Because if you're like me, you don't care to take care of your kid. That's what you want to do. But you were forced out. You were kicked out. You were shunned. You were made to look evil. A no good, deadbeat piece of crap. All I want to do is be there for my kid. That's all I want to do. My dad was not there for me. I want to be there for my kid. I didn't have a dad like that. Why do you think I'd do it to my kid, huh? I would never put him through the pain I went through. Never. Now you're forcing it on him? Like, are you serious? Oh, you're going to set me on fire. You're going to set me on fire. And then you're not going to be able, you don't understand. I'm going to come at you with everything. I'm going to come at everyone. Like, don't do that. I'm going to pull politicians out of their freaking office. Like, come on. Don't do that to me. Oh my gosh. You're going to make me upset. You don't want to make me upset. Like, I'm trying to be nice here. Like, I really am. I'm trying to be kind. I'm trying to be loving. I'm trying to be caring, Like, you get me upset and I'm going after everybody. I'm suing everybody. And I don't want to do that. I want to handle this peacefully. I want to be forgiving about it. That's really what I want. Like, and I'm sure you guys do too, But the things they're doing here, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's terrible. It's just terrible. There's no way around that. Like, I can't even act like, it's okay. Like, I can't even. Section E. Bar on acknowledgement, ratification proceedings. Okay. Ratification, to ratify. All right. Let's look this up. Ratification. The term ratification describes the act of making something officially valid by signing it or otherwise giving it formal consent. For example, ratification occurs when parties sign a contract. The signing of the contract makes it official, and it can be enforced by law. So this is where they can put you in jail. Should the need arise, to explore this concept, consider the following ratification definitions. Contents, definition of ratification, difference between signing and ratification, ascension, okay? Ratification of U.S. Constitution, finalizing the Constitution. Ratification of the constitutional amendments. Like, this is what ratification means, to ratify. Okay, so let's look at this ascension part. When a state agrees to become a party to a treaty that other states have signed, this is known as ascension. Legally, ascension is the same as ratification. The only difference is that ascension typically takes place after the enforcement of the treaty. So after the enforcement, that's when it's ascended, okay? Ascension and the procedures involved with it vary based on the provisions of the individual treaty. For instance, a treaty may permit ascension of all the other states, or it may specify the exact states that can take advantage of it. If the treaty is silent on the issue, then ascension can only occur if the state agrees on the principle in general, or as it pertains to the specific state. So pretty much what that's saying is, when you have the Constitution in front of you, when you have the contract in front of you, right? When you sign, ascension happens when they enforce it. So they start enforcing it right away. That's what it's called, child support enforcement. So they start enforcing it even before you sign. So ascension takes place off rip, but it's not ratified. It's not ratified at all. It's not official until you sign. Now, you can take that sign and you can endorse and see how they go bonkers. If you want to learn how to endorse, please go over to Brandon Joe Williams' page and have at it, because that's the guy. That's it. He figured that out. That's his 100%. It's so cool. So cool. Such a good experience. Such a good course. I highly recommend it. All right. Yeah, so that's what that means. That's what ratification means. Okay. Oh, wait a second. Oh, here we are. Boom. Okay. Bar on acknowledgement, ratification proceedings. Okay, so once it's official on the paternity acknowledgement, that's what it's saying. Okay, that's the standard. Proceedings under which judicial or administrative proceedings are not required or permitted to make official an unchallenged paternity acknowledgement of paternity. Admissibility of genetic testing results procedures. Okay, requiring the admission into evidence for purposes of establishing paternity of the results of any genetic test that is of a type generally acknowledged as reliable by accreditation bodies designed by the Secretary and performed by a laboratory approved by such an accreditation body, which it means is accredited entity, like a doctor. But in this case, they're talking about businesses. So, requiring an objection to genetic testing results to be made in writing not later than a specified number of days before any hearing at which the results may be introduced into evidence, or at state option not later than the specified number of days after receipt of results. Yeah, so that's what that means. Okay, making the testing admissible as evidence. Admissible means to... The term used to describe information that is relevant to the determination of issues in any judicial proceeding so that such information can be properly considered by a judge or jury in making a decision. Evidence is admissible if it is of such a character that the court is bound to accept it during the trial so that it may be evaluated by the judge or jury. Admissible evidence is the foundation of the deliberation process by which a court or jury decides upon a judgment or verdict. Okay. So, making the test results admissible as evidence of paternity without the need for foundation of testimony or other proof of authenticity or accuracy unless objection is made. If there's no objection, they don't even need to do it. Do you see how they have orchestrated this? So that they're preying on you who does not know law. You do not know the rules. You don't know procedure. Do you see what's going on here? Look, we're going to stop there today, but geez, there's still a lot more to get into. So I'm Naganik, and this is Child Support, Social Security Act 101. Take it easy.